MBS Frontline.
The regional parliamentary sittings have sharply divided the opposition.
Election of the Pope, the highest and respected leader in the world. If there is an election there must be an election.
Interestingly, today, I saw her entertaining Sam Manyanga. Some of our colleagues clearly being used by the Speaker and the NRM. They are mooting a motion saying, now we want the leader of the opposition to be elected.
And the Speaker insists that the idea of regional parliamentary sittings will proceed undeterred. But Mityana South MP Richard Lumu took it a step further by proposing an amendment to the Administration of Parliament Act, which seeks, among other things, to allow opposition MPs to elect their leader of the opposition.
Democratic principles in electing a leader of the opposition in Parliament.
We have never been afraid of any democratic process, as you know.
In that category, who thinks that he has to work on how he can continue staying in the opposition by bringing laws which govern the opposition for the betterment of what he wants? He can enjoy that.
So if you put effort in fighting Jogo Rusenyonyi, for me I think you are targeting a very wrong person. Not going to stay in the opposition for life. For us, we are thinking about taking over.
Meanwhile, President Museveni was present today to address Parliament.
I have been hearing rumors that the money is not well used. It is taken by people who are not known or things like that. So that's why I wanted to call a conference of elders from these areas, and then we see how to move.
But tonight we ask, will the regional sittings address the most pressing issues of the regions where they convene? Is there more than meets the eye with these sittings? Are they being weaponized to undermine the stubborn leader of the opposition? This is The Frontline.
MBS Frontline.
A very good evening and welcome to this edition of The Frontline. My name is Charles Mwangu Shampagi, and tonight we bring you a special edition. We will be bringing you The Frontline both from our studios here in Kampala and in Gulu, where the 11th Parliament has been holding the first of its planned 4 regional sittings. So far, business has been going on, and my colleague Benson Ongom is in Gulu. He'll be joining us with a couple of panelists, but in studio here, let me introduce the team that I have. From the extreme end, I have Yusuf Kajura Serunkuma. Serunkuma. He is a political analyst. He writes a column for the Observer newspaper and dabbles in a lot of research, political research. Very nice to have you, Yusuf. I have Frontliner, Executive Director at the Uganda Media Center from Nasuti, Mukono, Mulanda, and Kapele Byong. Ofono Opondo. Very nice to have you, sir.
Thank you. I thought Serukuma was a Webi card. Where did he get Kajura from?
I am Ugandan.
I have from Kasanda constituency, from the National Unity Platform, Member of Parliament, Patrick Nsamba. Very nice to have you, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, listeners.
That you're here, does that mean you're boycotting, you're missing Parliament? What would that mean?
It means I'm not in Gulu.
You're not in Gulu?
Yeah.
I have Frontliner, Member of Parliament for Kira Municipality. Now this is a bit difficult, but we'll get through it at some moment. Shadow Minister for Finance, the Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda.
What is difficult?
Is it PFF yet? Is it FDC still?
You've gotten it right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
PFF.
PFF.
Yeah.
Yes, the Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda. Very nice to have you.
Thank you.
You're also just not in Gulu, or you're boycotting?
Charles, PFF is like more like police field force. You know, the ones who put on Madoadoa? Yes.
Okay.
The abbreviation can mean anything. I don't know why Fonopon is excited.
Very nice to have you, sir.
I am boycotting. I am not in Gulu because we announced we will be boycotting the sittings. Yeah.
Okay. Let me, Benson, do I have you online, and who do you have in Gulu? Please introduce the panelists joining us from Gulu.
Well, a very good evening, Charles. A very good evening, viewers. We are coming to you live from Gulu, actually, to be precise. And joining me this evening is the State Minister in charge of Northern Uganda, Dr. Kenneth Omona, who is with us. Good evening, sir, and welcome to NBS Frontline.
Thank you very much, and a very good evening to all of you, the viewers.
Thank you. And also joining us again is the Woman Member of Parliament for Napak District, Honorable Faith Nakut, also with us this evening. Honorable, welcome to NBS Frontline.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, Benson and Charles.
And I want to start with you right away, Honorable Faith. The expectations, I saw you from yesterday to today. Some of the questions you were raising and rising up, raising the issue of Karamoja. Yesterday you were quite disappointed because issues of Karamoja was not given the attention it deserved. Day 2 of the regional parliamentary sitting, do you think some of the issues that you have as a region has been tapped into?
Yes, I think day 2 has been handled very well. A number of resolutions. Yesterday I told you that we ended the day without any resolution. Today has been a great success. We had 2 motions and the resolutions passed. We had members' petitions that had been tabled, and the members received them. They were referred to the committees, and then we also had members requesting for leave to do the private members' bills. They were granted. So by far, the day has been really a great success. Of course, we have here 4 sub-regions. I think it's not practically possible that you will have absolute balance on a single day. By the time we ended today, some of our colleagues from one of the 4 regions were actually saying, no, today we did not get our good chance. So, but at least I'm happy with the progress today. The Speaker allowed us to give the motions for the people also to speak. In terms of allocating time for members to contribute from each of the regions, there was a balance. Although, of course, not very many members spoke to the motions, the bills, and the report of the committee, at least the members were balanced. Even if there are 4, there would be 1 from each sub-region. I think that was good today.
But generally, do you think some of the issues that you wanted to raise as members of these regions, West Nile, Karamoja, Choli sub-region, and Lao, were raised? Because even up to this evening, some members were still complaining on the times that were allocated for them to speak. Some of them did not speak. And there's also a bit of feeling among the members that some of the issues didn't come out.
Yes, some of the issues didn't come up because the day ended so quickly. Remember, we also had to allow some time for the presidential address. So, and the order paper was long enough, so we couldn't finish what was in the order paper entirely. There were motions that were there which couldn't be covered today. Maybe they will be covered tomorrow. There are a number of issues that should be addressed in this region. And even if you talk about livelihoods, we handled a small component, not the whole of it. So we cannot say everything has been fully addressed. That's why the issue of the days allocated for this regional sitting seem to be few, especially when we have many sub-regions in one sitting, like now this one. So I agree with members. Not all the issues that we thought would be handled have been handled. A few have been, some have not. We for example, in the Karamoja group had a motion on education, but the day ended before it could be presented. We hope that there will be space tomorrow for it. Then there are other petitions from the communities. One thing I have liked about these regional sittings, especially this one, is the fact that the Parliament has opened enough space for petitions from our people to be read, to be listened to. It is normally in our normal setting in Kampala. It can take a while for a petition to find space in the order paper. But today, to have 2 petitions that were processed in a few days, to have them read and presented, I thought that was good. In fact, that's the actual meaning of bringing the Parliament nearer to the people, so that the voices of the people come clearly through the petitions. I was happy.
Definitely going to come back to you, Honorable Faith. But let me get to Dr. Kenneth. Dr. Kenneth, you present a region that, again, is leading in poverty. You present a region that has its different challenges. Post-war, we've been talking about the compensation. Again, today the President tasked the Deputy Attorney General to explain a bit of that. The issue of infrastructure that has come out very loudly. As the Minister in charge of the region, do you think that these regional sittings will address some of the issues that you're battling with in your ministry? But today, do you think some of the issues that are even in your docket in office has been raised?
Thank you very much, Benson. First of all, I want to say that it's been a very successful exercise, the sitting of Parliament in this region. And I would like to say that, yeah, the region I represent is quite huge, as you may know. The region I represent stretches from the border with DRC Congo, that's West Nile, all the way up to the far east bordering with Kenya, has been called the program area called the Northern Uganda, with the 6 sub-regions. Secondly, I don't want to say that all the issues concerning this region are being addressed for the first time here. These are regions we have been dealing with before. I only say that the good thing about this now is that it has given more emphasis, particularly Parliament giving more emphasis on the issues of this region. But these are issues we have been dealing with before. So there has been emphasis as far as the issues of this region are concerned. And again, also, they will not all be solved here. But at least importantly, they have been highlighted. The purpose of Parliament is to highlight issues of society as far as their oversight and other legislative roles are concerned. We have discussed matters of infrastructure, both electricity, roads, railways. It's very crucial and critical in this area. We have discussed matters of wealth creation, the state of poverty in this region, and what can be done to alleviate poverty in this region. We have discussed matters of security. This is a very critical matter, as you know, Benson, in this region. And this cuts across, right from West Nile, Acholi, Lango, and Karamoja. They are all interconnected, sharing the economy, sharing their natural resources, and the human resources. It is an interconnected region. So we've been discussing these issues, and they cut across this. So the most important thing is that there has been emphasis on the
We'll soon be linking back to Benson Ngom to complete that part of the Frontline this evening, where he has the Minister of State in charge of Northern Uganda, Dr. Kenneth Olusegun Omona, together with the Member of Parliament from Nakapiripiri District. Let's come back to Napak District. Let's come back to studio here. We have 2 members of Parliament. Let me start with you. Go back to you, the Honorable Patrick Nsamba. You're a member of the National Unity Platform. I have seen you say you're here, you're in Kampala, meaning what? You didn't go to attend Parliament?
Yes, sir.
Why?
I didn't find any reason to go, and I am still not convinced that this approach to regional issues is the right approach and the sustainable approach on how Parliament should or is operating upon. If there was time allocated to Parliament to debate this before, probably would have weighed in. And the Speaker keeps saying that she wants to take Parliament to the people. When you hear it, you would think probably she wants people to participate more in Parliament activities, and that's what she wants to achieve. But the approach in how she looks at achieving it is a wrong one. Unfortunately, she came communicate that we shall have regional sittings, and no one was given chance to weigh in and say that the best approach to make Ugandans participate more in Parliament is this approach. I'll just give a simple example. You must have observed that still it remained the same people speaking to themselves.
But you're sitting in Gulu, and over the last few days, various media houses and NBS in particular has been covering the excitement in Gulu, the contribution to the vibrance of that city, the people you have moved from other parts of the country, maybe some of your colleagues going to Gulu for the first time. Doesn't that create the connection that Parliament is getting closer to the people? And number two, for you, as especially members of the opposition, some people think that you're just extending a fight you've been having with the Speaker and with the party she represents, not looking at the benefits of taking Parliament closer to the people.
So which kind of connection are you talking about? They went. I'm sure every person in Gulu watched them on TV, not so? The same way they watch us on TV when we're in Kampala.
They're meeting them on the streets?
When?
In Gulu,
How?
some Gulu streets?
How do you meet members of Parliament on the streets?
Are they just being bussed from
they are
Kaunda
provided lunch somewhere, they eat dinner somewhere. There's no way you're going to interact with them. But for me, that's not what is most important.
What is most important for you?
The way the Parliament rules are created, there are approaches under which, if you want to open up space,
Honorable Samba, indulge me for a moment, and the panelists here. Let's go back to Benson Ongom and conclude that bit of the front line, and then we'll come back to the discussion in the studio here. Benson, are you back?
Surely, Charles.
Yes.
Again, I'm still with Dr. Kenneth. Dr. Kenneth, you raise very critical issues that came out, especially infrastructure and some of the issue. But if you look at actually sub-region precisely, some of the issue did not come up. The issue of Balalo, which has been very core and talked about in the region, never showed up anywhere. The issue of APA, which a couple of times have been select committees of Parliament has been debating, it has been debated, recommendations have been given. The issue of Aswaranch came a bit. Do you think it's really a solution Parliament that will give? Because these are very key issues, particularly to actually sub-region.
Well, just like I said, that the few days we have had here are not enough to exhaustively discuss all those things. And some of them may still come up. I can just touch maybe briefly about those you have mentioned. The issue of the Balalo, as you remember, I should have mentioned that yesterday if I had enough time. And I want to use the same opportunity to inform the viewers and the public that the Executive Order number 3 involving the wandering cattle keepers, commonly referred to as the Balalo, which also included the rampant cutting of the vegetation of wood for charcoal, as issued by the President, will be implemented to the dot. There are some loopholes we are having now, especially with the charcoal burning. We have realized, we have been told, and we are investigating cases of connivance or people in security with charcoal dealers. these are things we're investigating, but at least there's some control, some level of control, charcoal burning. On the issue of the balalos, I want to assure you this will be implemented. Recently, when we had the development of, when we had an outbreak of the foot and mouth disease in a number of districts in Uganda, the Minister of Agriculture announced and declared quarantine in a number of districts. And because of this, Cabinet directed to the halting of the implementation of the expulsion of the balalos. Why? Because we expected that some of these cattle or livestock that would be moved away from northern Uganda here will be moving into those areas where there's disease, and to avoid spread of animal disease, to comply with the standards, to comply with the measures of controlling animal disease. Cabinet directed that the execution of that order is halted until the quarantine is lifted for it to continue. By the way, it had already even started. A number of animals were already expelled, others were already impounded.
But also people are asking, this is a back and forth activity that government keep doing. Halt, start, and halt it back.
So I'm talking partially about this one. The other time when it was halted, there was another view that thought that another view fronted that asked for the review of the executive order. I think that was the purpose of that holding. Okay. But this time, let me just say, we're only waiting for two things. One, we are waiting for the lifting of the quarantine. Two, Cabinet also directed the Minister of Finance to release 2.4 billion Uganda shillings to help facilitate the implementation of this order. And as soon as the quarantine is lifted and finance releases this money, you are going to see what's going to happen.
In 30 seconds, what of the issue of APA?
APA government, as you know, we had the appointment of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the issues of APA. And I think the problem which they had encountered was the lack of funds. And I think by tomorrow, actually it is one of the things that we'll want to update the public about tomorrow. So that will be done.
Honorable Nakud, in 1 minute or so, probably you talked about the issue of education, which I think also the President spoke about today quite in a lengthy manner. Karamoja is still wanting in terms of education, but some of the affirmative programs that have been done by government, the impact seemingly not there. Billions of shillings have been sunk there. I didn't hear quite much from the Karamoja MPs raising some of these issues.
I think because, of course, we cannot finish everything in one day, and there was an order paper to be followed. I am very sure tomorrow there will be space for a number of other issues to be raised. I am aware that our people submitted a petition on a number of petitions on a number of things. I hope they will be in the order paper. So the issue of sustainable security in Karamoja, because that still remains a fear of our people, that anytime we could slide back to a period of insecurity, that issue is still outstanding. The issue of livelihoods, yes, I said today we handled just a small component, but we need a whole detailed analysis on what works and how to move our people out of poverty. The issues are still many, and the members are willing to speak to them.
Just in your last shot as well, what is some of the expectations that you expect in the remaining day, which is only tomorrow, to come out really quite very importantly in 30 seconds?
Tomorrow, I know that we have committee reports that were not discussed and debated. I hope that they will be debated and resolutions passed so that the issues that were captured, for example, on health, it's very critical that they are handled tomorrow. The committees visited all these 4 sub-regions, especially the Committee on Health. If that is not captured, then there will be a real problem.
And also lastly from Dr. Kenneth, what are some of your expectations tomorrow? You colleague ministers, some of them, the questions have been coming, but again, what is your expectation as you sit tomorrow for the last time in this regional sitting? What do you expect to come, and what do you expect to give the viewers and also the members of Parliament tomorrow?
I think importantly, we want to emphasize to the northern region that government cares about this region and that a lot is being done to uplift this region from poverty, address the issues, the conflicts arise in this region, especially land conflicts, as far as the Balua are concerned. But not only that, there are so many land conflicts within the clans, within families, and we want to see how we can deconflict this, especially in seeing how to help people manage their land. We will also want to let the public know, our expectation is also that by bringing parliament here, the population, especially the leaders in this region who have been observing parliament, will be motivated, especially in terms of accountability to the public, and the public will also not be motivated to hold their leaders accountable. One thing that I also want to, I expect tomorrow will inform the public in the north, two other main things. One, which is a very big thing in this area, is about cattle compensation. And I hope by tomorrow we'll have more information to inform the people about what's happening. Then, very interestingly, is about the reparation, which has not been told to the people here. You know very well that recently the ICC, when the ICC convicted Dominic Ongwen, it also ordered for reparation of the people who suffered the atrocities. And the reparation order actually carries value, the money ordered to be given for the reparation is about 52 million euros. This is a lot of money. That's going to be coming into this region to pay to the victims. And very soon, in a few weeks, we'll be preparing a cabinet paper so that cabinet can guide working together with the Trust Fund for Victims and see how this can be implemented.
Again, thank you very much, Honorable Faith, for speaking to us this evening. I really appreciate you. Look very tired and probably hope tomorrow it will be a better day. Also, thank you very much, Dr. Kenneth, for sparing your time for speaking to us. Thank you very much. Charles, again, the issues of northern Uganda, not so much debated, all of it, as you have heard from the panel this side. Some of the issues that are very key to the region. From Acholi sub-region, the issue of Balalo yet to come. The issue of Apa, the commission has been appointed, not yet started work. It's an issue that people are interested in, the issue of the ranches. Achwa Ranch was a bit talked about today. In Karamoja region, the issue of education is not yet quiet. Again, also the issue of infrastructure. Today, the issues that were raised by some of the members of parliament are the issues of dry dams that have been done by government and are not really being utilized or being helpful to the people of Karamoja. Question of Lao sub-region. Tarmac and infrastructure, again, for our viewers, the only tarmac that crosses through Lao is from Soroti to Kamdini. One is being done from Masindi Port that crossed to Acholi Bu, which is not yet even 40% done. And lastly, for the West Nile sub-region, has been on the issue of infrastructure. If you go to the lower West Nile, Moyo, Koboko, Yumbe, there's a lot of issues on infrastructure. So some of those things we expect to get them tomorrow. But from us in Gulu, we continue with the sitting session tomorrow and we'll be bringing you this coverage. Back to you, Charles, in the studio.
Thank you very much, Benson. If you could just step for a minute before you go away. Some of the colleagues here were asking what was the participation of ordinary Acholi or people from northern Uganda?
I think Parliament did invite some people, not all people. I would say the ordinary person really, if you look at the 10 where the members of parliament were seated and then the back bench where you expect the gallery and people to sit, not quite many ordinary people. The invited guests by parliament from within and others. But again, also this evening as you drive around town, there's a big screen also which was set within town and the main market. It was really interesting to see people really debating. Some of the comments we could hear, disappointment from the voters, of course. Some of them are happy to see the members of parliament. I would say this has come with its advantage and disadvantage as well. I think the merit is, again, even if the criticism has been there, that it has no impact. I think in terms of the economy, again, in Gulu for the past 3 days, it would be a lie to tell you that the hotels are not full, the streets are busy, at least people are spending money. But also it would be a lie if you would say that the regional meeting will eventually solve all the issue of the northern part. Because yesterday, again, there are only 3 or 4 issues that were debated, because the better part of the day in the morning was introduction of members of parliament. Today, again, the president again spoke for almost 2-3 hours. The issues that were raised, apart from the petitions that were presented, the 2 petitions, we hope that, again, if you're to look at it in an objective way, is the sitting for 3 days enough? It's a question that Parliament needs to answer, and Uganda needs to answer. If you bring in regional Parliament, would it start from Monday to Friday? Does the procedure allow? Will it be probably for a week to have impact? Because many of the issues, Charles, were not really debated. And again, it's only tomorrow. And we expect Parliament to start tomorrow from 10 a.m. in the morning, and probably by 2 or 3 p.m. it will be done. So again, it has come with its disadvantage. But again, the merit of it is something that Parliament needs to reflect back. If they're going to Masaka, if they're going to Barara, if they're going to Bale, they need to learn a lesson from Gulu and do it better and make the impact be felt even by the members of Parliament, Charles.
Thank you very much, Benson. Gentlemen, let's bring the discussion back into studio here. Honorable Samba, you were contributing at the time I took, we linked back to Gulu. You're concluding, but let me put this question to you quickly.
You put so many questions
yes.
to me, I have not answered.
Oh, please, I'll let you conclude
okay.
on the questions I put already.
For us, we think this is a political stand. And the presence of the president today proved that. That probably is a sign of early campaigns. When you see him, the way he came and the way we talked, imagine that he was in a rally. Otherwise, if the interest of the speaker is about involving the people, this is what would have happened. He would have set up committees of parliament, either ad hoc or the usual committees of parliament, to go and meet the public in their sub-regions. A committee of parliament goes, interacts, because in our rules of procedure, people cannot interact with plenary. There is no space within plenary where the local people can stand up and say, hey, our member of parliament, you're saying this, but the real issues are these. And you're aware they can bring out these real issues better. So we would have seen a report, parliament debating a single report about critical issues in northern Uganda, feeding in the sub-regional reports, where you deal with matters of Karamoja in that report. There is a committee that has dealt with the matters of Lango. There is a committee that has dealt with the matters of Acholi sub-region. Committees that has dealt with the West Nile critical matters. Now, Parliament, if Speaker sent that as a team to go and pick those critical issues, then Parliament can sit and discuss with clear resolutions.
What difference does your absence from Gulu make to this arrangement?
It makes sense that you have invited me here to tell you what should be done. And part of the reasons why the media is looking for us, why we've not gone, is to articulate some of these issues. Probably they would have been articulated.
You're notorious as members of parliament for dodging parliamentary sessions even here in Kampala. So what difference does not being in Gulu make? You have your own internal reports in parliament that you're hardly there, or when we are zooming in with our cameras.
When you reduce space for opposition, every time you're dealing with the parliament, people will resort to such issues like boycotting. If you want to take decisions by yourself, you don't want to listen to no one, people will say, hey, we will not come. And I want to tell you...
So whether it is in Gulu or in Kampala, attendance of some members...
What is most critical, what is most critical for me is not to shift the tent at Kororo and take it to Gulu, and you think you've taken parliament to the people. Nakut herself has told you her expectations have not been met. And everyone tomorrow, they will tell you, this has been a showbiz as usual in parliament. There is no opportunity for the critical issues to come up through parliament. And for me, we shouldn't take people for granted to that level. And we tell them that, we have brought parliament to you as though parliament being in Kampala, all issues and matters around Uganda and the central region have been dealt with. We cannot sit here and say, because Parliament sits in Kampala, then all issues and matters about central region have been dealt with. So for me, whether the tent is in Kampala, whether the tent is in Igulu or in Masaka, if you want to involve Parliament in the parliamentary procedures. The first activity that would have been done by our Speaker is to provide for regional sittings within our rules of procedure. That's why
Is this absolute first time that Parliament is sitting outside of Kampala?
They've termed something called the regional sittings.
No. Previously, have we had in previous parliaments, 9th, 10th, have we had Parliament sitting outside of Kampala?
I have not seen, maybe Semuju being a journalist could have that. But for me, I really think this is something that would have been, first of all, provided for in the rules of procedure. Members of Parliament debate it. This is how we want it to happen. The Speaker would have had the opportunity to come up with the best strategy to make Parliament relevant for the people. Otherwise, just lifting chairs, tents, put them in Kaunda, is it called Kaunda Garden? Eh?
Kaunda Ground.
Kaunda Grounds. It just ends there without a real impact.
Let me ask
I saw the head of state coming to Parliament to deal with issues of northern Uganda, because he must have been briefed that the purpose why we are here is to deal with matters of northern Uganda. He gave no commitments on the issues there. He was asking people, how is it here? How is it like picking stories? Now, you are discussing matters of northern Uganda when you've just concluded the budgeting process. Any matter that comes out of that, how are you going to finance it? How are you planning to finance? Now, the president cannot make any commitment because nothing was provided for in the budget. That's why he was just talking about things in a political way.
You are not in Gulu, but you're following proceedings in Gulu.
I think it is my right to watch news. It is my right to watch my TV.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let me ask maybe one last question to you before I come to Honorable Semujunganda.
Yes.
We've been told that you guys received, all of you, received your allowance for traveling to Gulu. Did you receive yours?
I've not checked my account, but if they sent money, probably they sent it.
Okay.
I can't say no to that.
And if you find that they sent you money, will you send it back?
Certainly. Even if I don't send it back, what the Speaker communicated said that they will recover the money for those members that are not that have not gone to Gulu.
Voluntarily, would you send it back?
But I will have no problem.
Voluntarily, would you send it back?
I will have no problem sending it back to them.
My question is, voluntarily,
because I never needed it. Yes.
Voluntarily, would you send it back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Honorable Semujunganda, in principle, what is wrong with Parliament sitting outside of Kampala in this regional?
You see, the context in this matter is very important. For now, nearly more than 2 months, the spotlight has been on Parliament. How we spend money. So these particular sittings have come against that background. The opposition, I am a member of the shadow cabinet, sat and said, we need to begin walking back. We cannot behave as though we are insensitive. So the decision was collectively taken by a cabinet to which I am a member, that the main reason we will not go, it is because issues of accountability, there's a lot of public anger against Parliament. If you're going to spend money for a regional city, maybe ordinarily you will be spending less if you're conducting a sitting in Kampala. So that's how the decision by cabinet, eventually communicated by the head of opposition, was arrived at. Nothing else. Probably if these sittings had come earlier or sometime later, maybe they wouldn't attract a lot of controversies that they have. So in our internal debate, I may not go into the details. That's what we decided, that we will not go, because we will look insensitive that the public has been complaining against you.
So you're basically managing the optics of it?
Certainly. I mean, if issues have been raised against you and you don't show concern, then you will not be a leader.
But
there are things that you need to scale down.
The money for these regional sittings is coming from the budget you've already appropriated for Parliament. You're not like seeking supplementary financing.
It doesn't.
You're not seeking money from other votes.
It does not matter. You see, a budget can be passed, and then you can continue quarreling with the budget even during implementation. It doesn't mean that when you pass a budget, you go home and sleep. So complaining against a budget, either allocation, less or more, will go on until you've done another budget.
On average,
and we do that.
How much do you spend? Parliament has sat in Gulu since yesterday and today. Members traveled on Tuesday. They will conclude tomorrow and travel back. We understand that you're spending about 5 billion on these regional cities.
I don't know how much money eventually will be spent, but I know that we will spend more than ordinarily.
Ordinarily, how much would you spend in a week?
You will not have the specific figures. For me, I usually do is to look at the entire budget of Parliament and then divide it by the number of days in a year. The budget of Parliament is slightly under $1 trillion. So if you're going to divide that by the number of days in a year, it means on average you are spending about 3 billion shilling on Parliament.
3 billion.
Yeah. But when you're going, when you're going to conduct you may do a reallocation. You may move money from here and there. You may get committees to fund the MPs. So the budget remains the same, but the complaints will be there. So it doesn't matter whether you have passed it or not. Once the complaints have come, then you need to deal with it. First of all, this money is released by finance. If they haven't given you money, it doesn't matter whether the budget was approved or not, because the release depends on the availability of funds. And then the second point for me, Charles, these sittings, the stated intention is that you want to raise the profile of the issues in the region. I highly doubt that these issues are going to be raised. Let me give you an example in general terms. In this budget, this financial year, local governments, all of them, have been given 6 trillion shilling. About 5.4 trillion will be spent on wages and non-wage salary and fuel and etc. So what remains for local governments, all of them, for development, is about 600 billion shilling. Specifically where Parliament is sitting, Gulu City. Gulu City has been given a budget of 25.7 billion. The wage component of that budget is 15 billion. Non-wage, which is fuel, vehicle, seminars, is 8.8. So what remains for the Gulu City to develop
development budget
is 655 million. A budget of 25 billion, less than 1 billion is what remains to develop Gulu. If you go to Gulu district, the total budget is 26 billion. The wage component is 13.2. The non-wage is 7.6. What remains for development is 5.1 billion. And that's why the issues that are being raised by committees of Parliament on infrastructure, on agriculture, issues of roads, issues of health, issues of education, are issues that Parliament knew even before it traveled to Gulu. In the budget that we passed, which the President returned, saying that Parliament had interfered with his priorities, we will be going to Eastern Uganda shortly. MPs had moved money. I sit on the budget committee, the whole Parliament, to finance the completion of a surgical ward in Mbale. The president said, you're interfering with my priorities. He returned the budget, and eventually the money went to Rocco. So we know these things even before you travel to the area. So nothing will change because the budget has already been done, but also the priorities of the president are different from the priorities of parliament and MPs from these areas. So just to emphasize the point I made, the decision that we collectively made, at least as shadow cabinet, was that because of the public outcry about and against parliament and all of us collectively, we will not be going to attend the
Let's
regional...
pick this up in a moment and look at the politics of these regional sittings after a very short commercial break. I'll pick it up with Ofono Pondo and Yusuf Seronkuma.
NBS Frontline.
You're still watching the Frontline on NBS TV, and we're asking the politics of these regional sittings. You've heard from the two members of parliament. Let's go to the 9 members of parliament and start with Ofono Pondo. What is from where you sit, the politics of these regional sittings? You've heard the arguments from the opposition. You've heard the arguments from the people who are in Gulu, both from the opposition and elsewhere. What do you make of this?
See, the opposition likes splitting hairs. My young brother Samba here says we are doing politics perhaps at the campaign, but even if that was the case, what would be wrong with it? What would be wrong with it if we are doing just politics? But for me, I see 4 points. And I think Honorable Samba hasn't been following. Last week we had this debate here. And that time we were told that the Speaker had actually sent committees of Parliament, not all, but a number of committees, to go all the way from Karamoja sub-region, Lango sub-region, Acholi sub-region, Western sub-region, and so on, to pick pertinent issues. Some of the committees that were sent were committees on infrastructure, committee on agriculture, committee on education, committee on health. Things that touch the lives of the ordinary people. Now, I would have expected and I expect, unless, of course, what Honorable Semuju usually complains about, the lack of competence of members of parliament. Did they pick the right things?
The information we have is actually that those committees went, picked the information and brought it
so
back
Honorable
to Parliament.
Samba seemed not to have been following this, otherwise he wouldn't have raised it. So my issue would be, did the committees actually pick pertinent issues? Did they present them well to the plenary in the reports? Did they summarize them well? So that they even advise actionable points. That would be the issue. Now, we cannot know that at this point until they have returned and we have seen the kind of resolution the sitting in Gulu is making. The second one, Honorable Samba is saying, but you have finished the budget. Honorable Samba, as a member of parliament, knows that usually they go back to parliament and they can do reallocations. They can also do supplementary. So if there is something urgent, for example, today when the president was there, one of the issues the president asked was about irrigation schemes. And he was told that the irrigation scheme in Agoro, which is in Lamour, was not working, had stopped working. They did not give the reason there publicly what the issues are. I expect that when they come back, this can be an important matter where a supplementary can be raised to reopen Agoro irrigation scheme. Secondly, even if we have completed the budget, we are also entering another budget cycle starting September. This is actually the time that they assemble all the critical areas of need which have remained unfunded, and they are factored in the next budget cycle. So that's what I expect a reasonable member of parliament who is not doing usual cheap politicking to look at, even if the old budget is gone. Let us come to the politics we are raising. For me, I see 4 areas. The first one is the constitutional, the legalese. The framers of the Constitution and the writers of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament left this matter to the Speaker, and the Speaker has the commission. I want to believe that the matter of sitting in regions was discussed in the Commission of Parliament, and I dare say must have been discussed also with the executive. That's precisely why the president was in the Gulu. If the executive headed by the president was in disagreement with the parliament having regional sitting, there's no way parliament would have gone there, because we all know that we work in a kind of symbiosis. Parliament and executive consult, and they find the best option. And this is not just a regional sitting. Even sessions of parliament, opening a session of parliament, state of the nation, presentation of the budget, it is mutually agreed between parliament and the executive. So this is not the first time they are cooperating. Let us look at the second issue, which started some time back when I was a reporter in NRSC, the interim parliament, 86, 96. We never had situations where committees of parliament would go outside parliament into the field. It started as a new creation under James Wapakabulu, the late, when the Wandera Oganos wrote the rules of procedure which allowed committees of parliament to actually go to the field. Those days, NRC would simply invite government officials
to come to it,
to come to the committees of parliament. At that time, we never had situations, for example, where members of parliament would carry their constituents, maybe school children or women groups and so on, and bring them physically to parliament. We never had for those 10 years. These days, it is part of the parliamentary process that a member of parliament can request the speaker to bring their constituents, and they sit up in the gallery, they walk through parliament and so on, different parts of parliament. That's part of taking parliament actual, in my view, to the people. Now,
they've even had the parliament open days, I think.
Yes. Now, if in this particular parliament, it may not meet my brother Samba's expectation, in my view, it is the beginning, they can refine. Like, remember when we were here that time, I said, look, Parliament, going to Gulu or going anywhere else, they can pick 2, 3 areas. They can say, can we visit one government health center? Can we visit one private medical facility? Can we visit one primary school, visit another? Like today, what they raised, which I recall, they said, Gulu City does not have a government A-level school, because apparently the Pongdong, Samuel Becker and others, when they carved out Gulu City, they remained in Gulu district, in Gulu district, the rural one. What is Gulu City doesn't have a government A-level school. Now, findings like those, you would have expected maybe Minister of Education has it, maybe they have it, but listen, you will come. No, you'll make your point. The third area, yeah,
I want you to summarize.
The third area is public relations of parliament. Public outreach programs of parliament. That's one way. Even if they do not conclude anything substantively in the legislative way, the fact that they have done outreach, for me, that is important. And then finally, which Honorable Semoju tries to discount, is in economics, we say the trickle-down effect. Yes, when you are preparing to receive 530 members of parliament plus their staff, there are certain basic things you do. You will upgrade a road or street, you will put street lights, hotel people will improve their hotels. There are benefits that are going to accrue out of that. We now know, yesterday I was speaking to my brother, Honorable Abudu Katuntu. He said they were pleasantly surprised that Gulu people have built hotels and they can comfortably accommodate the number of members of parliament who are there.
With their staff.
And Abudu said that in the van he traveled in, he had 3 members of parliament who had never crossed Kawempe. This is what Abudu told me.
Yeah.
He said in their van, they had 3 members of parliament
who had never crossed Kawempe.
Yes, in spite of the fact that actually Parliament has been sending members of Parliament up country. Maybe these members either used to decline or whatever it was. So for me, those are benefits not in legislative form, but they reinforce the understanding of our leaders about different parts of the country. The final one, to me, the politics.
I thought that was the final.
The final one to me, which is the politics, is actually, it's an opportunity for the different political forces in that parliament to go and show their presence. Yes, show your, I mean, if you stand there and you say, I am the leader of opposition from Noob, in the crowd of 530 members of parliament, before the local population in Gulu, for me, that's part of your, that should have been part of your mobilization. For the NRM, I think NRM can now go, Honobandit Amon can now go, and all those other members of parliament of NRM can now go and tell the people of Northern Uganda and specifically Gulu to say, for the first time in the history of Uganda, we brought for you the entire parliament of Uganda in Gulu. And to me, we can actually extract some political mobilization benefit.
We'll come to that in a moment. Laban in Stagata is watching us and says, please, it's not a matter of opposing every issue, even positive ones. The other day I expected my friend Semoju to be above such, but when you failed to sign such cover paper because of your friend Impuga, I saddened. This is what Laban has written. I saddened. I think, and now, not in Gulu, Laban in Stagata is asking you, Honorable Semoju Nganda. Let me come to you, Dr. Seron Kuma. What's your reading of the politics of this regionalization of parliamentary settings?
You know, when you listen to people articulating the reasons for going to the regions, to sit in those regions, you know, I mean, as the members of parliament have said, the reasons don't really make sense. It's that they're difficult to sell. There's only one reason which makes sense. The last point that Afono made, the trickle-down effect. But I've been struggling to find something an image to reflect what is happening. There's an event which happens every year in Jinja. It's called the Nyege Nyege Festival. And the ways in which it's articulated, they say there's trickle-down economics. So people throng Jinja, and then hotels are fully booked. There's the vendor, the food seller, the market woman is able to make business. It's the only reason, it's the only articulation of the reason for going to the reasons for going to the regions that makes sense. So you could say in a word, Parliament is having its Nyege Nyege festival. And this Nyege Nyege, this Parliament Nyege Nyege is like an exhibition. You take it around the country so that you exhibit Parliament. And you know, I mean, listening to Afono Point, I felt at some point that I think Parliament overestimates itself. Like they really have a high sense of themselves. They think they're like entertainers, that when they enter Gulu, the city will come to stand still. And every ordinary person will come out and see them and say, we are here. I don't think people are really interested. It baffles the mind that, you know, you're proudly saying, Samba will go to Gulu and stand and say, I am a member of parliament, and the people of Gulu will see him. When at the same time, you can't allow him to open the political party office in the same area. If you're really okay to Honorable Samba exhibiting himself and his party, it should be very easy for him to open an office for the political party in that area. But if the opposite, if you are unable to do those things, whatever you say is a hard sell, the only sellable thing is that we are doing the Parliament Nyege Nyege. When you go there, and I think as O said, I also think Benson mentioned it, that, you know, the hotels are fully booked, the streets are busy, the prices of beer certainly have gone up, the women of the night have thronged the city because these MPs are there. So it captures the image of what we see in Jinja as the Nyege Nyege. So we have parliamentary Nyege Nyege sitting. They started in Gulu, now they're going to those places. There's a serious point, Charles, that I want to... There's a phrase in Persian, which could be translated something like, you murder somebody, or you murder a group of people, you bury them, and plant flowers on their graveside, on their mass grave. This is what is happening. This is an image that you can, you know, reproduce in many places, that you murdered people. After murdering them, and they're all buried under this coercive system. And then you're planting flowers on them. You see, flowers in a cemetery are difficult flowers. The dead cannot use them because there are flowers in the cemetery. They're dead, but also you can't hold a party in a cemetery, right? This is the problem with flowers in a cemetery. So if you look at the MPs going to this area as flowers, the problems of Gulu, you know, people coming out of poverty, unemployment, poor infrastructure.
Looking at where Yusuf Gulu is coming
Charles,
from.
let me finish this point of growing flowers on mass graves.
Okay.
You know, you kill the systems as the NRM government. You kill the systems that would have enabled the people of Gulu to thrive. You know, one of the things that really bothers me, if I could return to this point, is that the people of Gulu, during the time of the Odoki Commission, resoundingly said we need a federal system. It wasn't just in Uganda, the entire country. It was like 95% said we need a federal system. And you killed that. Maybe that would have given people the opportunity to constantly articulate their grievances, sit together, discuss on a daily basis. You killed that. Now you're planting flowers on the mass grave. You see, business.
Yusuf, let me step in there for a moment. Gulu coming from where it's coming from, a city that was filled with night commuters running away from war, now has recovered, streets are paved, there are lights all over the place, hotels are accommodating people, and like or said, ability to host over 500 people visiting at the same time, and then you take parliament there to sit and have its first sitting outside of Kampala. Isn't that important? The political optics of it, Ogo talked about them, and I think Samuel a little bit. The political optics of it, the characterization I've had from even members of the opposition and some members of the NRM, I think it was Kabanda who was in the studio on Barometer the other day, saying the interpretation by the people of Acholi is going to say, you guys, especially in NUP, you hate Northerners, you hate Acholi. That's why you're protesting against holding
the irony of it, irony of it, because since Parliament is seated in Uganda, you might say that Parliament the entire time is discussing Uganda issues. The irony. When you say let's move
this is the national capital. This is the national capital.
Yeah, exactly. But
so
it's in Uganda. So when you say let's move to those regions, you work on the assumption that perhaps for the entire time they're discussing issues relating to Uganda. But the optics of it, the best image to capture the optics of it is that it's the parliamentary Nyege Nyege.
No,
it's very optically visible.
Yes.
But Charles,
I did.
Let him interject.
No, I'm asking through him.
Yes.
This matter of regionalizing or moving institutions towards the consumers of that service, is it only with Parliament? You may disagree, perhaps, with the format. But when I was growing up, we used to know that you only go to the church. And then the priest would come maybe towards Christmas. That's when they move around homes. When we went for lockdown, what did we do? The priests actually were coming to homes. We never used to have ecumenical prayers. We started ecumenical prayers very, very recently, where you bring religions together. These days, I'm even seeing that the Anglicans, Catholics, and Muslims agree only one person to lead the prayer. So these innovations you may have, you can question, but you cannot say it is useless. Yes, you as a cynic, you as a cynic, you as a cynic, you can say you can equate parliament. You can equate parliament going to Gulu with nyege. That's all right. Even that nyege in Ginger, you cannot deny that it has not improved the earning of the people within Ginger environs. You cannot deny that it has created ability for people or the need to create certain infrastructure, which we never had before.
But on that, we agree on that. We're okay on that.
And we have been saying,
Charles,
we want tourists to come. We want tourists to come to our countries. How come that we want tourists to come to our countries from abroad, but you don't want this big group, even if MPs had just gone to Gulu to see what Gulu is like, and they spend money, they will interact with people. If you think that MPs should only interact with you who teaches in Makerere University, and MPs should not go to the roadside food stalls in Gulu, then I think Serunkuma, you don't know what your country is, you don't know anything about politics, and you can never be any political leader at any level.
Yes, now conclude your thought. On that point, I agree with 100%. That's what I said. This is a parliamentary nyege. The points you made justify what I just said. It's beyond knowing I'm not saying it's useless. I'm just saying you reduce our parliament to nyege.
Mr. Serunkuma, some people have said politics has been defined somewhat as an elite thing.
Just there's a point. There's something I want to touch. There's something that I don't want to miss. Called us consumers of parliament. So parliament has come to us as consumers of parliament. How did we pay their salaries. We ask them to pass legislations in our favor. When did we become their consumers? But this speaks to the point what they're doing. You see, when the speaker was speaking today, I think she said, yesterday, that she laid the foundation stone for fencing Kaunda grounds through their social corporate responsibility. Corporate social responsibility is the other term for murdering people, burying them, and growing flowers on them. Because you've stolen so much from them. So corporations, after ruining the lives of ordinary people where they operate, say mining companies, banks, after ruining those lives, they turn and say, we're going to grow flowers on their graves. So what you're doing,
But what you're using that a rather very strong image that you're trying to use, or figure of speech that you're trying to use, and I'm trying to relate it, and I'm not finding where it relates. I mean how it fits into this argument. You're going to have a discussion. You're having a discussion in northern Uganda, an ordinary sitting of parliament, but sitting outside of Kampala, sitting in Gulu for the first time.
Listen, yes. So you've taken flowers to them. Because you see, you can't say you can do parliamentary stuff in 3 days. These are flowers. This is an exhibition. It's a wreath on a casket. You've taken flowers from Kampala to Gulu to sort of excite them, make them busy. Perhaps if you're like at an entertainer's level, sort of have walks through the city so that city can come to the sense and you exhibit yourself.
Let me have these members of parliament weigh in here.
What you're doing is you've carried wreath and you're growing flowers, because you see, Charles, the point I want to make, I hope I don't miss it, and you don't miss it, is that the actual things that matter in the lives of Ugandans, we know them. As they said, committees went and did studies. They didn't have to.
So why?
So committees go and then
why
MPs
does
go?
It matter that those things that matter, that you say, matter are debated in Kampala, or in Gulu, or in Mbale, or in Imbarara? What difference does it make?
No. By the same logic, we ask the same question. Yes. Why have to go to Gulu?
Charles, even if we are to say that the trickle down is the main reason, the question is that the concern of Parliament?
For as long as you're holding these settings within geographical boundaries of this country called Uganda.
Benson Ongom told you The local people are nowhere to be seen in the vicinity.
But Honorable Nsamba, Honorable Nsamba,
but that's why you...
If...
No, but where the local people are supposed to be in parliament, inside parliament...
You've given me time.
I'm just trying to make this point.
I want to use it.
Yes, I'm trying to make this point. That if Uganda's capital were in Moroto, or in Kabale, or in Gulu, what difference would it make if you're holding sittings of parliament that they must be confined?
In my submission, yes, I told you it doesn't matter where you sit. What matters are how are you addressing the concerns of the people. Parliament of Uganda should never be concerned about how the people of Gulu will earn money through hotels.
Hey.
That's not a concern of Parliament.
The
concern of Parliament.
Member Parliament who says Parliament should not be concerned with earning.
Listen, the concern of Parliament should be how the livelihoods of the people of northern Uganda are improved. That should be the concern, not how a hotel earns money and you create an opportunity for a hotel to earn money. That's not should be the concern of Parliament. Charles, you know you're a journalist. Lots of billions have been sent to northern Uganda. But who are the beneficiaries? Are they people from northern Uganda?
You tell us.
No. The eventual beneficiaries are people from Kampala. People who are close to the regime. Even today, as they were presenting about the compensation, it came out clearly that the people who eventually benefited from the 120 billion Parliament allocated to northern Uganda as compensation are unknown. They are not part of the community. Now, that should be the concern of Parliament. I really want to think you don't need to go and sit in Igulu to deal with that problem. You don't need to go and sit in Masaka to deal with particular issues that concern the livelihoods and the improvements of the people of Uganda. Now, so the trickle-down effect, as this gentleman, the senior man I normally respect, Ofono Pondo, is a very flimsy, small thing that should never, ever concern Parliament. And you proudly say that we took Parliament and therefore people have gained income. I want to ask, did you see any advert about the service providers during this period that restricted that only people from northern Uganda will provide the services? Did you see any advert of that nature? Is it not the same tent? If your interest is to leave money in a group, the same tent in Kororo is the same tent that you went with to Guru. Who is the service provider? Are you sure that service provider is from northern Uganda? Or the people who are providing meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, are they coming from northern Uganda? So even if you're talking about...
service providers from Kampala.
The service providers are from Kampala. So even when you talk about the trickle-down effect of the more than 5 billion to be spent, the real beneficiaries are not the people of Gulu. So even if he had given credit for that, I still discount it to say a parliament of a nation should never ever be focused on that.
What does your Article 95 of the Constitution, Article 95, Sub-Article 2,
you can
and
read
Rule
it.
17 of your Rules of Procedure
You can read
provide?
it. You can read it for me.
How does Parliament interact with the population?
Parliament, you can provide many avenues. For example, I'll give an example with our friends, our neighbors in Kenya. There is no legislation that goes on without a public input. They will call for public input.
And here?
Here.
Is there any legislation you do here, you process here, where you don't call a public hearing in committees?
My friend, this man is no longer following Parliament. I really want to think he no longer follows Parliament.
I have just received some information. Viewers are sending information saying all the money spent is budget neutral. That's number one. But number two, all service providers are from Gulu. You just talked about who the service providers are. That the service providers are from Gulu.
Who is the service provider? Let them to tell us the service provider who provided the tent. And
someone here says,
let him send,
someone says, we are watching from Gulu. The framers of the 1995 Constitution found it necessary that Parliament could sit anywhere in the country as the Speaker deems fit.
And
under
for me,
Article 95, Sabbatical
and
2.
For me,
hold it a moment. The Leader of Opposition has a travel abroad budget of 1.4 billion shillings, 1.6 billion short of the consolidated expenditure of taking the House to Gulu. Honorable Shabe doesn't have information. All the service providers were locally procured. Let me take another message. Let me take another message and then hold it a moment. Let me take another message.
Tell us who is feeding you with that information.
Deepening democracy entails strengthening the will of the people. Power belongs to the people. Accounting to the people is a continuous process. The new concept of bringing the debate nearer to them is political ingenuity, especially when the northern part of the country was insecure and paralyzed for nearly 25 years due to insecurity and never had access to development, education, health, agriculture, infrastructure, etc. Gulu City will now feel closer to government. The MPs stay in the north will focus government accountability and oversight on government's ongoing projects in the region, performance of governance institutions, etc. Reforms are a creation of new ideas. People should not be resistant to reforms and new democratic ideas. Remember in 2023, June, when we started Arrow Boys militia group and recruitment over 16 battalions to support UPDF, many people opposed us, but government armed with close to 10,000 guns, and it worked, unarmed them. LRA was defeated in Teso. This is a contribution from Captain Mike Mukula. We'll take a break. I'm afraid I'll come to you in a moment. Let's take a break, then I'll come to you and Honorable Semoju.
NBS Frontline.
You're still watching the Frontline on NBS TV, and we're having quite beautiful following online. I mean, people are watching us and they're sending a lot of feedback. I'm overwhelmed by how much feedback I am getting, and I have to read some of it. I will not be able to pick all of it. But for the members of Parliament, I hear you, Honorable Nsamba, arguing that serious things are not going to be discussed. Are you telling us you spend a lot of time in Parliament here discussing those serious things, whether you sit in Kampala or sit in Gulu?
And that's
why are those serious issues not articulated when you sit in Kampala?
For me, I am not concerned where Parliament sits. For me, that's not an issue. Whether it is
so why are you not in Gulu? Why didn't you go to Gulu?
For me, that's not an issue. But the way you come and lie to people that you know we are coming to solve problems of northern Uganda, and you're presenting members of Parliament. And I like Serunkuma's, their members of Parliament are presented as if they are celebrities, that people want to see them. And you've not even created the space for these people to see. The same introduction you'd have done.
You mean these members of Parliament? You mean to say that these members of Parliament are sitting in Kaunda grounds for 24 hours?
Yes.
They are not interacting with the populace in Gulu?
Because after they are put in buses with guns back to their hotels.
Which hotels are where? the hotels?
Back to their hotels.
Where are the hotels?
But anyway, what I wanted to make, the critical issue that I wanted to bring out is Ofono Pondo made an allegation that I'm an unserious member of Parliament because I didn't follow the kind of committees that I was talking about that could delve into regional issues. Once you say you're going to deal with regional issues, once you send my committee, like Committee of Natural Resources, and say, you people go and be in Gulu, pick anything you want about northern Uganda. We will just look into our activities and find out which issue should we present to Parliament. But unintended purpose for which a region can benefit, you set up this committee purposely to deal with all matters.
What is your responsibility as a member of Parliament? Isn't it to raise those things that you think are critical issues and cause them to be debated?
That's why Yes. I'm thinking that us being in Igulu, it makes no difference.
Wouldn't you have a platform in Igulu to make raise those issues?
What makes a difference is how do you bring up those issues, and that's the time you're not giving me to explain to you. You would have had public meetings in Karamoja, you would have had public meetings in Lango, and when you come back as Parliament, wherever you're sitting, for me, whether you put Parliament here or there, but when you're creating, you're dealing with the meat, the critical issues that concern the people of, that's, you've had Honorable Nakut.
Your colleague here.
You've had Honorable Nakut.
Your colleague here, Honorable Semuju, confirmed here that committees of Parliament were sent to the Greater North to pick those issues.
Including my committee of natural resources, I'm telling you.
It's traveled?
It's traveled there.
Yes.
And how it came,
were you part,
pick any issue.
Did you travel with that committee?
I'm giving you, I don't know why you ask me a question, then you follow up with.
No, I'm asking.
I'm telling you that the Committee of Parliament is sent to pick anything about Northern Uganda to present. That's not how you can help a region.
Did you travel with the committee?
Even if you're seated here at Kampala, even if you're seated here, matters concerning Northern Uganda can come and be processed. And how does it be processed? It is processed by giving them ample time. Say if you give a week or two to deal with Northern Uganda, and every critical matter that you talk about must have a budget line, must end up by a resolution that's saying we are providing such and such amount of money to solve this problem.
Let me come to
we are dealing with
Semuju.
this. We are dealing with this to solve this problem. But I saw the way they were presenting. They were talking, we have this problem. The same way, this problem is still big. Now the president came and talked about the Fonopono was talking about an irrigation scheme without any clear solution. There is no clear solution. Yet you would come up with a parliamentary report, comes up with resolutions that amount so and so. This should be done, and resolution that help those regions. After 1 year, you're able to look at the same report to say we resolved it like this.
Well, let me bring this to Honorable Semuju Nganda. One, you said that committees were sent out to pick those issues. Number two, my understanding is what you're having in Gulu is Parliament sitting in plenary to have these discussions. That the processing was actually already done by the committees that did part of the work before. And that there is an opportunity that members of Parliament sitting in Gulu can interact. And let me expand the question a little bit more. You have had the Speaker interact with the cultural leader of the Acholi, who was invited and was in the gallery today. I think she visited a hospital today. Yeah, I think she visited a hospital and have been able to do a few other things. So you said in principle, the meetings are not a problem. The timing is a problem.
Just in case you want me to restate it, you see, I think Parliament is copying other institutions of the state. In the last Parliament, I think, when we filed the case against Parliament, together with other colleagues, the Constitutional Court chose to sit in Mbale. Of course, it was very inconveniencing. I left Kampala, we were in Mbale near for more than a week. Even to receive a judgment that had been written, the judges drove to Mbale. Those of us who had filed the case, we also went to Mbale to receive it. Yet both of us were here. But they took a decision that they will. I don't know if they have held other hearings outside Kampala, but they said they will take the Constitutional Court to other regional cities. I have seen the president presiding over functions. The most recent one was the International Youth Day in Soroti. It is not something that I support. Because I told you sometime back I was in Tanzania and Magufuli said, instead of organizing a function to celebrate, instead of spending money to celebrate our independence, I'll give a television address, and then this man can go and do this. To host, let me tell you what it means in terms of money. In the 9th Parliament, when the State House was requesting for more money, they told the Parliament that for every public outreach that the President does, he spends 2.4 billion. That time, I don't know what he spends now. I have been told recently.
You have the budget. Why don't you divide it by the number of days in the year?
No, you may not know. No, specifically the outreach, not the budget of the State House. The President is supposed to come and commission road construction between, in my constituency. I have seen a budget of 600 million. The 1 hour or 2 hours is going to spend in Chile as close here. So the Constitutional Court going to Mbale, the President going to Soroti for, inevitably in politics you may have to do some of those things. And that's why I said, for me, the trouble is the timing. If this public, this sitting of Parliament had come earlier, maybe after, it would not be mad into the controversies that it has attracted. And I am not sure that the value is what people are stating. The value actually may be raising the profile of the areas where they have gone. It is not sleeping in hotel. I don't think that the issues affecting these areas are going to be addressed by one sitting of Parliament in Gulu. The most recent report of the National Bureau of Statistics put what they called multidimensional poverty in Karamoja, it is at 85%. 85% Karamojong are suffering from multidimensional poverty. They are followed by Acholi at 64, by West Nile 59, Teso 56. And I think even in these meetings, the issue of poverty in northern Uganda was addressed the same way it can be addressed in Kampala.
You appreciate that internationally, having the national or international spotlight focusing on an area has inherent benefits.
I know.
And by Parliament deciding to shift the sitting and take it to Gulu, and having us and other media houses all over the country shining the spotlight on Gulu makes a difference.
I agree entirely, yes. But the same public, you, the media, you are the ones who have been complaining about many other things about Parliament. If you are complaining, I cannot, because I need to step back. And that's why I said, you see, you can have this seat. Maybe if this sitting had come earlier, or if it had been postponed, maybe it wouldn't attract the same criticism from the public that it has attracted. That's the only point I make.
The question I want to put there, and to all the members here, the way it's being projected by you honorable members and members especially of the opposition, Seru Nkoma, is the protest against these sittings as widespread as you're trying to make it? If you did a survey, would you find that the opposition to these regional sittings is as widespread as you think? Because the other people would argue and say, no, wait a minute. It's actually providing dividends.
See, Charles, I don't know how many times the media has discussed the regional sittings, yes, including today. I was,
is that a positive thing or bad? Is that a positive or negative thing?
The discussion is about the negativity, not about the positivity. I was on a radio station before I came here, and my trouble was even the way the discussion itself was framed. They didn't tell us what Parliament has done, and we were discussing the content of what had happened in Gulu. The issue is who went and who didn't. And that has been the dominant discussion. So you, the media, you are the very people who are sponsoring this negative debate about it, and then you are the very people asking, why are you not going?
There are over 400 members of Parliament in Gulu. Yes.
But
yes,
Charles, we have 529 members of Parliament. From what the media has written, more than 400 are in Gulu. plus minus people who drive in because of other commitments.
In Kampala, on a day you have
Yes.
100.
Yes. For me,
It's a festival.
for me, knowing that this matter is first and primarily is for members of parliament, the fact that 400 of them chose to go in spite of public decampaigning by the official opposition is a good thing. It means it is a success, it is being supported. Two, the people to whom parliament was taken, the people of northern Uganda, the people of Acholi, looking from what their leaders are saying, their members of parliament, their local leaders, local councillors, their cultural, their religious leaders are saying. For me, that shows me the support by which, not that everybody's expectation is going to be met. And we don't expect that one sitting, two sitting, three sittings will level the expectation of everybody. No. It is now, the onus is now on the leadership of parliament, members of parliament, when they return, how can they do the next regional meetings better to smoothen out the expectation. We don't expect, for example, our colleagues, the Sambas, who have said for them they're not going. I don't know what they are going to say when Parliament eventually goes to Masaka. Now, the question of bad publicity, I just hope which Honorable Semuju is raising every time. I hope Honorable Semuju will turn down, or Honorable Senyonyi will turn down a foreign travel tomorrow. Because there's bad publicity about foreign travels of members of parliament. I hope they will turn down. I hope they will turn down.
Someone sent a message to your point, to your discussion with Honorable Abdu Katuntu, that some members had not crossed Kawempe.
Yes.
Someone here sent a message and said they have crossed, but they were in the air because they were going on a foreign trip.
Yes. So for me, the other thing really which I would want to focus on. Nobody is saying, and I'm not saying, I don't think even the leadership in parliament, or even members of parliament themselves who have gone there, that they expected that they were going to deal comprehensively with the issues, all the issues of northern Uganda. Even if they have just gone and listened to people raising complaints, to me, that's good enough. And finally, the average person in the world out there, let alone a Ugandan, many of them think, or still think, that Gulu and northern Uganda are unsafe places. One of the ways we build confidence around the world, especially in the business world, is you get a big name, you fly them or you drive them to places. That's why if a big footballer, a big name footballer, a person with a big name in the music industry comes, they will say Uganda is a good place. Only recently we just completed the marathon in Rwenzori. So I think by Parliament going to Gulu and staying there for those 4 days, we are creating confidence for future tourism, future investment. Anybody outside Uganda today will say, I can go to Gulu, I can invest in Gulu, only on account of the fact that Parliament has sat there.
Yes. is a very brilliant man. In fact, I wish you were the spokesperson of Parliament. And I think you're doing this job really well, that you've stretched.
No, I am talking for the entire government.
You have stretched.
And Parliament is part of government.
You have stretched the articulation of why they're going there. But you see, bad publicity.
I am not a one-way switch like you.
Charles, bad publicity. So it's surprising that it's actually Honorable Senjunganda accusing media of maligning the regional sittings. But as they say in Luganda, you attract this bad publicity yourself. Good things are celebrated, bad things are chided. So, you see, we have told the public a lie, that we are going there to solve their, to fix their problems. But actually, you're taking them a festival. This is why...
No, fixing... let's put this...
Let's
put this on the record. Not to fix the problem, to debate
to debate,
because
to
Parliament
listen.
debates.
But then you sent a committee. You have local government right there. You have members of Parliament from those places. And then on top of that, you're saying let's take MPs to do the same thing that 4 other units are doing. Members of Parliament, committees, local government, they're doing the same things. And then you say, let's take this entire house there. So the public is aware you're telling us a lie.
What is the utility of the opposition, officially through the leader of opposition, announcing that they're boycotting these sittings?
Charles, the leader of opposition is speaking on behalf of the public, which sees through the deception. So if you accuse the public of maligning and you accuse media of maligning these regional sittings, the Uganda saying applies. And so as we told it's not just public people learning. You do good things and sing. Just, I have never seen a time when our parliament is so disconnected from the realities of Ugandans. You see, we had a massacre in Chitezi. We had a massacre, murder by omission. People died, and there have been 1, 2, 3 enormous accusations of corruption. We haven't had a special sitting to grieve with people of Chitezi. We haven't had a special calling for people who KCCA should come to Parliament.
But we discussed Chitezi more than twice, I think, on 2 days.
But you see, it's
it was
let me finish this. This disconnect is
enormous. Parliament is reminding you that Parliament actually discussed
2 days.
After the Parliament discussions, the graders which were picking people stopped working.
Elias Nkwago, the Lord Mayor, is not implementing.
Did you expect the graders to continue staying there?
The Lord Mayor,
why not?
People
By the way,
have been openly
Red Cross,
accused.
if you ask them, they will tell you that in such a situation,
I need protection when I'm making my point.
My time is actually running out. We need to be getting out of here.
There are many things to accuse Parliament of, but not the wrong ones.
I need to finish a point.
Parliament does not implement. In fact, what you describe as a festival, maybe every day you think there is a festival in Parliament. Because Parliament stops at talking, the implementation is done by someone else. So Chitezi, we discussed it, made proposals, 2 days. Maybe you wanted the MPs to go and they are the ones who are excavators.
Would have been good for your optics as MPs. But Charles,
this is what
my time is running out, so I need you guys to conclude.
This is what is very critical. What does it matter for Parliament to talk about something and there are no results to show about?
Yes.
But yes, we talked about Chitezi then. What happened? Nothing.
So, but what do you feel as your responsibility as a member of Parliament?
So for me, I want solutions about problems of the people.
Yes.
And
yeah,
once you've not turned the Parliament into...
Only South Africa, that's where resolutions of Parliament are binding. The rest of the African parliamentary resolutions are advisory. That's where you stop.
So I am advocating for such a kind of Parliament where you go to Gulu and you tell the people of Northern Uganda, all your problems are going to be dealt with. Then for me, it must be followed by a commitment from the executive that says, yes, what Parliament has agreed today, we are going to deal with it in such and such a period of time.
Honorable Samba, I haven't had you raise that on the floor of Parliament as a proposal, as a private member's bill, on how Parliament
Do I need to bring a private member's bill on a matter that you've refused to bring before Parliament?
I would love to see that.
You refused to bring the matter before Parliament.
I would love to
see you expect me to raise a public...
if you haven't raised it in Kampala, why would you want
parliamentary resolutions binding?
Charles, you got into my time. I'm happy that Zemji confirmed the point I've made, and I agree with him 100% that it is a festival, maybe every day. I would actually agree to that too. That
even in Makerere will be a festival. Is there anything that you implement? You're also doing the talking as MPs.
We are teaching.
What do you
teaching? We are teaching.
What do we
Charles, you need to protect me.
No, my time is out.
I'm very quiet when they are talking.
My time is out. I need to get out of here. Joseph Sabiti sent me a message and said, actually, the Kenyan Senate is moving to hold a sitting in Busia very soon.
Yeah, for me, I don't care whether Kenya is doing it. I don't think we should spend money for Youth Day in Soroti, Constitutional Court in Mbale, Parliament in Gulu. As a principle, I think the things that we can do here, we can do them here.
There's a point that O.O. made, which I really, I'm itching
conclude,
to make it.
Make the point you want to make.
He spoke about the tourism of Gulu. You see, and there's a thing I said at the beginning that, you know, you kill the place and then you go plant flowers on the grave. So the MPs have told the people of Gulu that tourists can't visit you because we haven't put anything in place to enable ordinary tourists to come and visit your hotels and fill them up. And because we overpaid, and because we have so much money, we're going to come and fill your hotels and be the tourists ourselves.
That's what
and OO wants us to celebrate that as the job of Parliament of Uganda.
But really, if that's how you teach, then Uganda is in trouble. The children you are teaching are coming out empty. Because
you're one of them.
Yes, and I want to tie this with the Honorable Samba. Part of the job of Parliament and members of Parliament is to put in place mechanisms to build mindset change for Ugandans to earn and earn better, even if it means Parliament spending money directly, even if it means Parliament spending money directly. I have said, by Parliament going to Masaka, there will be, as of necessity, infrastructure upgrading, both public and private. There will be areas, because of the status of Parliament and members of Parliament, that could have been neglected before, that will be paid attention to. And to me, that incrementally increases the stock of public goods in that area. I don't think Gulu is going to be the same. That counter ground, that is where the Pope came in 1969, Pope John Paul. This other Pope recently, Pope Paul, came there in 1993, I think. President Kaunda came there. By the way, that's where it gets its name from. It had never had any permanent structure, let alone a permanent ground. For me, I think if the Speaker, if Parliament says, we are going to spend Parliament money to build a perimeter so that we protect it, I think incrementally other infrastructure will come on that counter ground. It is much, by that, it is bigger than Korolo, I think.
That's a bit articulated.
Yes.
Parliament would have told us from the very beginning.
And then Parliament can then tomorrow.
So if you had your time, we're getting out of here.
So for me, you may be negative, and you may be, the media in the campaign may be negative, and some of you. But the media in the north, I'm sure the vibe is very positive about that sitting.
Okay. Your last word, Honorable Samba, and then Honorable Semujan will get out of here.
Now, you asked a question whether the leader of opposition, something that I want to respond by saying that the leader of opposition's role is to guide on the right thing to be done. And it is the feeling of Ugandans that at such a time, when you are accused of mismanagement, when you are accused of corruption, what would be critical is to respond to the corruption key critical issues as raised. Not now to do politics. It wasn't right for Parliament to respond to that by doing politics of regions, as though you can respond to the problems of the regions sufficiently. And I want to think the law made that one clearly well, to say people are accusing us of corruption, people are accusing us of overspending. I think it would be wise we deal with the same problems while minding about the expenditure. And I think this is what Honorable Semuja has really tried to build up today. So we shouldn't lose that. And if that's not the kind of leader of opposition the people expect to have, then I don't know what they want to have. If they want this one.
A viewer here shared a a breakdown of the benefits available to the office of the Leader of Opposition with figures. I will read through a few of them and says, and then you said this shouldn't be have been used for politicking.
I want to thank Charles. You invite us on another day to discuss the benefits of the office of the Leader of Opposition versus the benefits of the Leader of Government Business. That would be the fair debate.
Discussion.
The fair debate.
Fair enough.
Then you compare and be fair to Ugandans.
And then we'll put into context.
Be fair to Ugandans to say, Leader of Opposition, this is the benefit. Leader of Government Business, these are the benefits.
Fair enough.
And then
we'll put the whole debate of whether these regional sittings are actually a waste of taxpayer money or they fit into a broader parliament spending or government institution spending. Honorable Semuji, you have the last word.
One of the areas that have concerned me about these three things, first is how the president was drafted in, but to his own conduct when he went there. Literally taking over parliament, choosing which minister to speak.
Which member of parliament?
But also because this wasn't meant to be a joint session between the president and parliament. So the politics that Honorable Nsamba spoke about, I don't know whether now they will be carrying Museveni to Masaka, carrying him to Mbale, carrying him to... So this undermines the spirit that has been articulated that we went to northern Uganda as parliament. Museveni is using it to campaign. So they are ending up looking like a NRM retreat. Maybe that's why Ofono today was very forceful defending parliament more than he has done.
Parliament in the Gulu was under the able leadership. I am
concluding Ofono.
The president went there by the thoughts of the speaker. By the thoughts of the speaker.
Gentlemen, my time is out.
You should raise it with the
speaker. We should have a discussion.
Was uncharacteristically forceful in defense of parliament.
Frontline.